Well, on a day when Indian government has given, if I may use the Hindi term, muh tod jawab to counter terrorism, India is celebrating. India is celebrating because the hit by the Indian armed forces on terror camps is a clear endorsement that India is not going to be going to war, but they will ensure that terrorism is going to be eradicated. Indian armed forces early in the morning and gone have hit 9 terror camps, and in the press conference the Indian government has clearly expressed that it was measured, it is done with a purpose, and it was done to perhaps really eradicate the menace of terrorism on the map of the world. Now, my guest is someone who needs no introduction whatsoever. I've maintained and I continue to maintain that he is one of the foremost authorities in markets, in understanding the world, his ability to connect the dots and calm our viewers every time when the twists and the turns happen is quite extraordinary. It's my biggest pleasure that I've known Vallabh Bhansali for more than 25 years and he still looks the same. So nice to have you back on ET Now, Vallabh bhai. Good afternoon and thank you.
Very happy to be here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Let's connect the dots, which you always do. How should our viewers read into the entire powerful act by the Indian government?
Pakistan as a state has chosen a certain kind of statecraft, which is based on attrition, which is based on keeping the military and military action relevant. That's most unfortunate. And therefore, despite being defeated on the battlefield number of times, after suffering secession of Bangladesh, this statecraft has not changed. Democracy has not been able to assert itself like it has fortunately been in India and to a very large extent in Bangladesh, which is also undergoing some trouble. But Pakistan is a singular failure on this front, and therefore this war of attrition will continue until democracy really takes deep roots in Pakistan. Sometimes it will be border provocation, sometimes it will be these dastardly, inhuman terrorist attacks. And India has shown a different stance in the last 10 years. It's not going to take it lying down. But at the same time, India is not a warmonger by its character and by strategy. And I think this is no different, that India has taken its time and given a very measured response. It's amazing to see that how calm and quiet, but very firm and determined have our government been. And therefore, whether it was water, I don't know anybody who thought of water as a weapon, and how they've learned from others, how they've also learned from other countries in wars of attrition of this kind as to how you can use technology, etc., to give a very measured answer. So this is really very intelligent statecraft, and I do feel happy about it.
Next, Vallabh bhai, could it be military action or could it be just war of words now?
I think we'll continue to, play the strategy game, which primarily is to, hope that Pakistan becomes a democracy. Even in Kashmir, it's amazing to see that how we took a chance and then we are now paying a price, but we had to take that chance of restoring democracy, holding elections. There were two views about it. So I think that's our, stated and preference for all people in the world, that please go toward democracy. So I think we'll continue to do that. To the extent that Pakistan provokes us in many different ways, we suspect a very deep role of Pakistan in what happened in Bangladesh. Overt, and a lot of it may be covered. The role, their ability to bring some big, powerful nations in such, handiwork is also, probably not unknown to people. So I think we will have to continue to respond to those things in a very long-term manner. I think we are doing that by strengthening our diplomatic position in the world. We are doing that by I think doing an amazing job in Afghanistan, for example. When Taliban came to rule first time, they did not invite us to the negotiating table, and there was so much pain that after helping the country for in such a major way, building their airports and roads and whatnot, and giving so much humanitarian help, we were not treated well. But India showed a lot of maturity. Well, that we stand for humanism, and by, Taliban has now again so favorably inclined to India. So this is the diplomatic, should I say, strategy India will play, that, how to weaken Pakistan in every forum. Our entry into the OIC, our very strong relationship with the backyard of Pakistan, which is always acting against us, or very frequently acting against, or not in supporting us as much, is the whole Middle East is standing solidly with India. So, I think country after country, India has been able to isolate Pakistan in every forum. And that is what is making Pakistan very restless. The statecraft is now, known only as terrorism. And that's what will, achieve India's goal of being named Pakistan a terrorist state and no more. So I think we are going to work towards that. And there are all other suspicions as to what India is involved. Pakistan continues to accuse and allege. So I have no authority to talk about it. So I think this has been very good, and it will continue, and it will be very effective.
So what is today's headlines from a market standpoint? Tomorrow could be a forgotten story. Do you think markets should move on when it comes to geopolitical tensions and the after effects of that?
So market is, reflecting two things. It cannot ignore such a volatile global situation. We just saw what happened to Taiwan dollar 2 days back. And, so the currency markets, bond markets, equity markets, I think, I don't know whether you want to talk about this wonderful treaty that India has been able to achieve in an atmosphere of this kind. So market is full of news, and we will have to respond to it. The second part is, of course, that, the India underlying story. And India underlying story, there was some uncertainty a few months back because we didn't know what we were dealing with in terms of trade barriers, etc. Now that we have some visibility, we are far from having complete visibility. The market is feeling more confident. IMF, World Bank, other bodies have all talked about India's growth forecast. Some basis points have got shaved off, and also the numbers for last year. We are seeing, uptick on services, uptick on manufacturing. So there's greater confidence that India's story is, unabated. It is continuing. So it's very happy to see that long-term investors are getting that vindication. So market will show that underlying confidence. And at the periphery, in the tactical world, it will have to continue to respond to this news-filled world.
But in terms of the geopolitical uncertainty which was there after the Pahalgam attack, and it lasted for about 2 weeks, which was making some market participants nervous, not all. Can I say that at least now we know that where the puck is going to move, and that veil of uncertainty should now be lifted?
I think, if I can, restate what I said, is that there are these long-term trends, a lot of them reflected in our price levels. And then there are these short-term changes that are happening in the world. Some of these short-term changes have, tremendous potential to impact the long-term. And it's not easy to determine what the long-term will be because we don't even know the full measure of short-term. So trade being one of them, geopolitical realignment being another of them, technology advancement is yet another. So too much is happening, Nikunj, and we will have to deal with it. And therefore, the absolute confidence in long-term of our country or long-term of the world is definitely under a bit of fog at this point of time. And I think it will be foolhardy to ignore that part. And the market is showing that maturity. When a country like US is realigning, resetting its pace of growth, its nature of growth, the world is bound to be affected by it. China remains an enigma. While on one front, they are showing tremendous advancement and possibility of what a country can do, uh, people aren't sure as to what is the domestic condition. And we have seen that closed countries can surprise you on the positive and they can surprise you on the negative. So far, China has been able to surprise the world rather than negative side. So the world keeps, alluding, alleging, believing, discrediting them with, internal difficulties. But right from 2008, they've given a great account of themselves that, no, we know how to march on COVID, no COVID, whatever. So I think it's a very interesting time. It's a time which has some uncertainty, definitely. But in all this, I see that our economy, the potential of our country is only improving day by day. And I think in this kind of atmosphere, number 5 and number 6 economies, which was, India was a colony of UK. You can imagine how much change is possible if you, follow good policies. We have been very slow, but we've been very determined. And what we have achieved in the last 34 years, despite our very noisy politics and, some unexpected changes that took place, I think it's a fabulous account of what can be achieved with determination and, should I say, acumen. And can you imagine with this kind, when you put 5 and 6 number economies together, and it's a comprehensive thing. This trade pact has taken so long. In 20 it was almost signed, and this is after 3 years that we've been able to come this, and this apparently reads very well. So I think government's determination to keep working on a long-term basis on every important country, I think gives us great hope. So this is strengthening the long-term case, even while short-term things will keep happening.
Vallabh, I'm going to take a leaf from your answer and shamelessly perhaps change gears and talk about tariffs. You mentioned the FTA with UK, but the larger play is what is happening to the repood of the world after the newest US tariff regime. And Vallabh, we've not spoken to you on tariff. So I'll shamelessly ask you this question, which is that how do you see the shape of the world moving at a time when tariffs would be at play? The long-term shape, how do you see that changing?
See, a world, barriered by tariffs is unsustainable. So you have seen that in America itself, how quickly Mr. Trump moved on the tariff front. Within few days, he said, okay, 90 days limit. And then he kept dropping the tariffs. So he realizes that the world has got used to living in a manner which is borderless, where tariffs can play some role, tariffs cannot play a huge role. The world when the global trade, physical trade was limited, and there wasn't any other trade. The trade in services was very small. Today, goods and services have got, grouped together. When you buy a software package, it's very difficult to say it is some kind of goods or software. And when you buy a data center service, for example, the same thing, it's hardware, software, so badly mixed up that it is very difficult to live without it. And therefore, I think all these high tariffs is something that is not sustainable. Mr. Buffett spoke about it back, that look, this is anti-nature. Nowhere in any group living, if you attempt to become isolated, only death will follow. You have to live in a coexistential manner, in a perfectly coexistential or less perfectly, but you have to move towards it. So I think this tariffs is not a long-term story at all, particularly for a large economy with, very vociferous and vocal consumers, voters, etc. So I think that we'll have to live with it. Somebody powerful has taken up this as a strategy, but this will keep getting diluted as we go along.
Vallabh Bhansali last, he said that long term he loves India, short term he will never talk about, but valuations is where he sounded slightly cautious to me. Are valuations after the recent leg of decline looking okay for a long-term investor?
So, indeed, pockets have opened up and then we have seen some sharp rallies also. So I think we did have one bout of sharp correction. We had, a lot of easy when the short-term money move out of the market. We saw a sharp reduction in mobilizing of capital from the markets. So that has built up some liquidity in the market. Some kind of prudence, atmosphere of prudence has come into the market. And therefore, there is greater room for price corrections in reasonable or in warranted areas. So, but Indian market is so popular. Our savings are continuing to move towards the markets. Globally, India's story is only becoming better. And therefore, money is not turning back away from India. At the most, it goes and sits on the fence. So I think this story is going to be here. That moment there is some room for improvement, money is going to come right in. And lastly, I must say that this trend of rupee strength, dollar weakening, it seems more tangible, more enduring this time than ever before. So given that, the case for long-term equities has improved, but caution is warranted for various reasons that I have mentioned.
A moment for our young audience here to just politely take the clock back and just share with them that Vallabh Bhansali took Infosys public. When IT companies, they went public, they were the charm of the world and they were high growth companies. Today they are matured businesses. That's how businesses have evolved. So sir, we won't go back to 2000 or 1995 when you took Infosys public. I want to go to 2030. What to your mind, Mr. Bhansali, would be the shape of India by 2030? Which are businesses which will grow and glow? Which are businesses which are becoming mature and they will become slow?
I think all sectors will rotationally grow in the next 10, 15 years. We have seen amazing recovery in, say, cement sector. We have seen health sector, become so large. New sectors like data centers, etc., are, knocking on the door. So, and they are characteristically new kind of infrastructure. So infrastructure as a play, and then it can cover road building, it can cover EPC, it can cover equipment, so on. So I think India is a growth story for the next 30 years. And, if you can keep growing at 8, 9, 10, 11% nominally, it is inevitable that, as is very well known, that when economy starts moving, how the hard things move first, soft things follow, and then, the tertiary sector of beauty, cosmetics, services, travel, all of them follow. So I think this rotational move is here to stay. Buy good companies in any sector is what our philosophy is.
I would like to share with our viewers that something which I have a lot of gratitude for Mr. Vallabh Bhansali, that introduced me to this wonderful world of Vipassana. And as a student of Vipassana, Vallabh, I practice 10 minutes in the morning, sometimes 10 minutes in the evening. Hopefully you would take a 10-day retreat inspired by you. But thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for just, introducing me to the
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vallabh.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.